Unequal revenue sharing. That is exactly what's coming to the ACC. And according to an article in Sportico, they think it may come to other conferences in college football. Well, today I'm here to talk about, will we see unequal revenue sharing in the Big 12, and what would that mean for the conference and for the team I cover, the West Virginia Mountaineers? We're going to talk about that in this episode, which is brought to you by Cats, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner, and Appalachia Digital. And we're going to have that conversation, and I'm going to give you my thoughts right after this word from one of those sponsors. Since 1931, the attorneys at Cats, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident or fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Cats, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians, because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. Welcome into another edition of Couz's Corner. I'm your host, Couz. We are the home of top-shelf college football news and analysis around West Virginia, the Big 12, and conference realignment. The ACC has come to a settlement agreement with Florida State and Clemson, and as part of that agreement, unequal revenue sharing will now take place in the ACC beginning as early as 2025 season. We're talking football here, of course. So what does that mean for other conferences? Will we see unequal revenue sharing in conferences like the Big 12, for example? And if so, how would it impact teams like West Virginia, to be specific? Because after all, that's the team I cover here. The format the ACC is using, they're basing it on TV viewership. And there's also a success initiative, which I have no issue with the success initiative. You earn it, you keep it, right? I have no issue with that. But the other one, the one that's based on TV viewership, to me, is the one that could potentially cause issues within the ACC. Because TV viewership is something that's kind of already built in, especially now that Notre Dame will be playing Clemson, Florida State, and Miami more than the other teams in the ACC. Because playing Notre Dame automatically boosts your TV ratings. So the other schools in that league will not have the same opportunity to get good TV ratings. And Florida State and Clemson already have better TV ratings built in just due to demographics and the size of their fan bases. So to me, it's a very unfair and unequitable way to do this. But could it come into other conferences? Could it come into the Big 12 specifically? Well, first of all, I really hope not. I think it would be a terrible idea for the Big 12 to even consider something like unequal revenue sharing, because I think it would just create issues within the league. I think it would create finger pointing. I think it would create dissension. And I think it would create, you would have one group here that would be happy with it. You would have a group at the bottom who really just will do whatever. And then you have a group in the middle who, could fluctuate year to year as to how high their TV ratings are, right? And I think that's kind of where West Virginia falls into this thing. The ACC is using a 5-year rolling average to determine who gets the highest payouts, right? They're not going to base it on one season. They're looking at a 5-year average, which, that puts SMU at a huge disadvantage because they were in a different conference, in a G5 conference, who automatically got worse TV ratings from the get-go. So that automatically puts them at a disadvantage. The same could apply there for Cincinnati, UCF, and maybe even BYU to a degree, and Houston, if the Big 12 decided to do something like that. But let's go back to looking at West Virginia real quick. Between 2015 and 2019, West Virginia had really good TV ratings. They actually finished third in the Big 12 in that time frame in TV viewership. Now, I'm not counting Texas and Oklahoma here. I'm looking at current Big 12 members. That includes the Four Corner schools and the schools that came over from the AAC and BYU. West Virginia was third in the league in that time frame. However, now 2020 is not counted here. And I got this information from Run It Back with Zach over on Medium. In 2021, West Virginia was fifth in the Big 12. 2022, they were eighth. In 2023, they were eighth. See a trend here? The fan base was getting a little bit apathetic maybe. Now, the numbers for 23 kind of surprised me because they actually had a really good season in 23. But they also didn't play Texas in 2023 either. And I think that may have impacted the numbers as well. So you got to take that in consideration. When you're looking at TV viewership, you have to take into account what network the games are on, who got games on ESPN Plus the most and versus who didn't, who are the opponents, who are your non-conference opponents. All of that comes into play here, right? So that's another reason TV viewership, to me, is not a fair way to do this, because the conference has no say in who these teams play out of conference. So you're going to have unequal non-conference scheduling. And again, with the ACC's case, you have the Notre Dame situation to deal with. So I think it's terrible, and I think it would be bad for the Big 12 as well. Now, let's go ahead and pull up the data from 2024, just so we can get a glimpse of what are things like today in the Big 12. Now that Colorado's in the league, what do things look like? We're going to find out. At least this is a snapshot for us, right? Here is 20, and I got this from my friends over at the College Football Mafia show. I stole it from them. Hopefully they're okay with that. I will leave a link to the video I got it from so you can go support them. But when you look at this, Colorado obviously head and shoulders above everybody else in the league because of the prime effect. They brought in 22.1% of the league's total TV viewership, with an average of 3.86 million viewers a week. Obviously, you got Kansas State second, Utah third, BYU fourth, Kansas fifth, Oklahoma State sixth, Iowa State seventh, Texas Tech eighth, and so on and so forth. West Virginia coming in at 10th. Fan apathy probably played a role in it. They didn't get a ton of games on networks, on major networks. I'm sure all that played a role. And all the way down, as you see, you got surprisingly Arizona State at 14th, Houston at 15th, Cincinnati at 16th. But as you see here, Colorado, head and shoulders above everybody else. Then you've got a group kind of in the middle. And then all of a sudden you get down to the bottom where you have, the Houstons and the Cincinnatis of the world, basically. So I could see unequal revenue sharing. If you take out the Colorado's situation and then you take out the former AAC schools, I actually think unequal revenue sharing might not be as terrible in the Big 12. But here's the problem. If you use the same model that the ACC is doing, or really any model, with Colorado in the conference, it's going to skew the numbers drastically, because I don't think you can base those numbers on the prime effect, because he's not going to be there forever. And as soon as he leaves, their numbers are going to tank, or not. They might not tank, but they'll drop significantly. So it would give Colorado an unfair advantage in the interim over everybody else. Plus, where the conference has added so many new schools over the last few years, you had Utah, you had Arizona State, along with Colorado playing a Pac-12 schedule over the last 4 out of the last 5 years. So how is that an apples to apples comparison, right? So I just don't think unequal revenue sharing would work in the Big 12, A, because of the prime effect, B, because you have teams who played in the AAC 3 years ago that would skew their numbers, and half the conference played or weren't playing in the Big 12 2 years ago, or at least 3 years ago. So again, the numbers would be skewed there. And at the end of the day, I just think unequal revenue sharing, outside of something that's based on performance, I just think it's a death knell for a conference. I just do not think it's a good idea to ever have unequal revenue sharing in any conference. I don't like it. I think it could spell the end. And I definitely don't think it would be good for West Virginia, because as you can see, their viewership numbers tend to be all over the map. Now, with Rich Rod back at the helm, I am more confident that their TV numbers will rise, because A, his offense is very exciting to watch. B, I think they'll start winning again, at least in the next couple of years. C, this West Virginia is kind of a big story in college football right now. Many national analysts have even taken on this story, and Rich Rod's been done a lot of national interviews lately. You've got people like CBS Sports talking really highly about the Rich Rod addition to West Virginia, or the Rich Rod return, I should say. You've got the Pat McAfee effect. Rich Rod's likely going to be on the Pat McAfee show a lot. So West Virginia's TV viewership numbers will likely go up. However, Rich Rod, again, back just like the Prime effect, Rich Rod's not going to be at West Virginia forever. So if you lock something in long term, how is it equitable? How is it fair? Especially when you have unequal conference scheduling where everybody's not playing everybody every year. You've got so many differences in the non-conference scheduling. There are so many unknowns here. I just don't think it would ever work. And I don't see the conference presidents or the school presidents and the ADs ever agreeing to unequal revenue sharing in the Big 12. And let's really hope not. Let's hope not. Now, would it work in the SEC and Big 10? No. I think it would be even worse there because you would have the Blue Bloods getting almost 75. I might be exaggerating here, but you might have the Blue Bloods getting 75% of the revenue, and everybody else, you might have the Vanderbilts and Mississippi States and Indiana's and Rutgers' of the world getting almost nothing. So it would be even worse in those leagues than it would be in the Big 12, but I still think even in the Big 12, it's a bad idea. I think they need to share the revenue evenly, and each school can find creative ways on their own to increase, whether it's their tier 3 rights, that like West Virginia has a deal with Learfield to do their media rights. It's not TV rights necessarily, but their media rights, like with radio and other things. They can find creative ways to do that. They can find creative ways to bring in revenue, in other ways. But as far as your actual core TV revenue, I think at the end of the day, it all needs to be equal in conferences. Otherwise, the conferences are going to collapse. They might anyway. In today's landscape, you never know. They might not hold on anyway. But I definitely think unequal revenue sharing would really be the nail in the coffin for a conference. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about unequal revenue sharing in the ACC? And if you're a Big 12 fan, would it work in the Big 12? What are your thoughts? I want to hear it in the comments. Also, please don't forget to like the video. It's free. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I want to give a quick shout out to my VIP channel members of this episode. Shannon Miller, CEO of The Sofa, Tanner Tracks Premier, Big E7375, and Sam Ventura. Thank you all for your support on the channel. I also want to give a shout out to my newest sponsor, Appalachia Digital. They're the folks who are building my new website, which will be live very, very soon. They help local and small businesses stand out online with professional web design and strategies to get you found on Google. If you're ready to boost your online presence, visit appalachiadigital.com/Couz to learn more and let them know that Couz sent you. Please do that. Check them out today. Thank them for helping support the show here and for being my new sponsor, along with Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner, your personal injury and medical malpractice attorneys. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for watching. Hope the rest of your day is top shelf. Stay blessed and cue country roads.